And we are live. Hello, Liberlandians. Welcome to another episode of the Liberland Show. I'm your host, Adam J. Carswell. As you can see, we're in a different setup for the show today. I was just talking to our guest, Joey, who needs no introduction, by the way. If you just type in YouTube, Joey Langenbrunner, Liberland Show, you guys will get the full story on him, which is why I'm excited. We're going to just dive into the interview here today. Um, but yeah, everyone, we went and hung out with family for the holidays, made it through that part. But then when we came home, everyone in the Carswell house got sick, including my daughter, who's actually joining us here today while her brother and mother get a little nap in. So daddy duty calls, but the show goes on, as they say, and we're going on with a good one today. I'm really looking forward to hearing what Joey Langenbrunner is working on. Again, just look him up in Liberland. He's put in so much time and work for the country. So if you do want to know his story and background, you guys can figure out that way. But Joey, I want to go ahead and just dive into what you're working on right now. And I think for the sake of this interview, I will turn my camera off, and you can you can feel free to turn yours off as well.
For sure, for sure. Um, I'm curious, Adam, is this my third or fourth time on the show? Because I really can't
I was
remember.
thinking it was maybe like fifth. You're giving Cam Ivan a good run for his money as far as guest appearances go.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, Adam, it's always a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank Vit and everyone else in the administration and everyone who's been helping on the Liberland project, who continue to bring us together. And actually, total side note, Liberland elections I think are ending in like 10 hours. So.
It's
Uh,
we picked a great time to do this. You're right. Mia agrees.
So I got a few people who are messaging me saying, "Hey, vote for this person, vote for me or vote for this." And I think I served in the first or second Congress, and then Justin Sun came out, and I always tell people like, "Oh, he basically took my seat," but totally fine with it.
Yeah, what can you do, right?
So yeah, anyways, yeah, let me talk to you guys a little bit about what I'm doing and how it relates to Liberland, and I think is something that every Liberlander can kind of relate to. So again, my name is Joey Langenbrunner. I got a website. We can put down in the description, just joeylangenbrunner.com. And essentially, what I help out is making sure people are sovereign in the way of getting second passports and second residency. So, if you haven't picked up, your Liberland passport yet, I know Adam is the guy to talk to. But if you're looking to pick up other passports and other residencies, then I would definitely be the person, for you to talk to, and you can find my contact information in the information below. But what I would like to say is that if you come to Liberland, and if you like the content, you like the idea, then you are definitely someone with the freedom mind and the freedom idea. So, of course, everyone has their crypto and their Bitcoin money and sovereign from the bank. So that's great. But what about your physical being, Adam? So what we want to make sure is that you have a second passport or a second residency just in case, you know, because we're working on getting the Liberland passport, to be more powerful, but it's not quite there yet. Still encourage everyone to get it, represent.
Yeah, and,
But
actually, one thing I want to say too, just for those who are just getting to know you too, Joey's been working in this sector for quite some time now. Because I know we had you, I think at least once, maybe twice, on to talk about similar models. So I didn't mean to cut you off there, but the first thing that comes to mind for me too is, I'm sure our listeners are wondering what are kind of the ideal countries to look at based on their current citizenship as well.
yeah, for sure. That's a great question. So let me give you guys kind of some examples, because everyone's situation is different, depending on what's your budget, what's your nationality, what are you trying to accomplish, So Adam and I are both Americans, and so it's one of those things where like, hey, for us, it's good to get like a second option, but the American passport's still pretty strong. So maybe for an American, it's a good idea to maybe get like a residency in Mexico, right? It's right across the border. It's close by. You can just get it pretty easily, and you don't necessarily have to stay in Mexico to keep it valid. So that's a no-brainer. So let me give you another example. Let's say I'm across the border in Mexico and I'm Mexican and I really want to go to the US. I really want to go to the US. But actually there's a better idea. Me, if I was a Mexican, I can actually move to Spain, Adam, and I can live in Spain for 2 years. And since I come from a former Spanish colony, I can actually apply for the Spanish passport in 2 years after living in Spain for only 2 years, and then I can get the Spanish passport, and then boom, I have visa-free access to the US. So why even try to cross the border illegally and deal with that kind of stuff when I can literally just go to Spain, get the Spanish passport, which means you have the ability to live and work in anywhere in the EU, and then I can just go to the US for business or whatever for 6 months every single year. So there's valid legal ways to kind of accomplish your things depending on what your situation is.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. What are you seeing as and apologize for the Miss Rachel if anyone listening right now knows what Miss Rachel is playing in the background here. But I'm also curious to know from a budget perspective, like someone who is trying to diversify from a budget. We'll just say with your average American client for the sake of the conversation, but then also someone who maybe budget isn't an issue. Like what type of options would you recommend them to look at as well?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So a lot of times when you get these residencies, Adam, it's only like a few $1,000s, right? So it's extremely affordable. Like if you want to get like a Mexican residency, or if I want to move to Spain and get the Spain non-lucrative visa, it's only a few $1,000s, you know? So that's very, very affordable. Now on the high end, if you wanted to, let's say, go buy a passport, Adam, there's a few countries in the Caribbean. You got Malta, in Europe. You could get the Turkish passport. You can get Vanuatu. These places are definitely going to be in the six figures, which is definitely very different than just a few thousand, right? So, for example, you can get like the St. Kitts and Nevis passport. St. Kitts and Nevis is an island in the Caribbean for about a quarter mil. That's pretty expensive, you know, or you can get the Turkish passport by buying real estate for about 400,000 plus. Okay, that's great. But, I'm buying property and I could sell that property maybe later on and I get the Turkish passport. While in St. Kitts and Nevis, it's basically just a quarter million donation. It's gone, but it's quick, it's easy. Uh, and one thing I always tell people when you're getting a second passport, it's good to get a second passport of a country that sometimes people have never heard of. If you're traveling around with it, so like let's say you're traveling around with a St. Kitts and Nevis passport or one of these other Caribbean passports, a lot of times people might not even know about the country. So from like a geopolitical point of view, nobody hates you. You know,
You're a lot less of a target. I just met someone recently who told me he had a story of being kidnapped, which I have never met someone that had gone through that until I met him. But he, of course, happened to be American. So there you go.
mm, yeah. Yeah, so if you're American and you want to be a little bit more on the adventure side and go to, some countries that might not have the best opinion of Americans, or maybe just, you know, you you essentially could be a target with an American passport. But if you get a passport from a country that no one's heard of, nobody hates, no one has any idea of, then like it's a less chance of maybe if you're being kidnapped, they're not going to try to get as much money, because they might not think you're nearly as rich as an American, right?
What about we're kidnapping, hilarious, right? But what about especially Liberland? We certainly have a lot of European Union citizens of Liberland and listeners of the show. So, what are you seeing as some good options for folks who are European?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So a lot of Europeans are moving to Latin America and also Southeast Asia. So, they can get a Mexican residency, which is, I think, pretty popular. A lot of Americans and Western Europeans are moving to Colombia right now. So that's a very popular program. And I have to mention this, Adam. We help a lot of people move to Argentina. Huge fans of Malay here. He is the
Sure.
libertarian elect president of the great country of Argentina, make Argentina great again. And so there's a lot of opportunity. there. When it comes to prices and political stuff, it's definitely a bit crazy down there. So it's a little bit for, if you're buying an apartment down there, it's a little bit more on the adventurous side. But with that being said, if you want more of a European lifestyle that's cheap, and if you want to get a South American citizenship pretty quickly, then Argentina is the best place to go. Because if you go down there, it feels a little bit more like Europe compared to if you go to Colombia or Mexico. So from that perspective, it's a little bit safer, great quality for food. Culture is amazing. So if you're coming, especially from Europe, and you don't want such a big difference when it comes to culture and way of life, going to a place like Buenos Aires is great. And if you live there for 2 years, Adam, you can actually apply for the Argentinian passport just after 2 years. Which on top of that, which is really cool, is that if you're a citizen of Argentina, then that means you're part of Mersicor, which means you could basically like more easily live and work in Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Colombia, and a bunch of other places in South America. So it's like almost kind of like a Schengen or European Union light down there.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I apologize. I'm scrambling to hit my unmute button here, but no, I love that, and this is super helpful, super insightful. I think we really accomplished the goal here. Is just for those who aren't familiar with who you are, Joey, and what you're working on. Clearly, you're an expert in this industry. By now, I know you would definitely be one of the first people I reach out to for a lot of these topics. So, before we bring things down for a landing, I guess I just want to ask, like, is there any other key points you think we might have missed or haven't touched on, or that you wanted to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, I'll say the quick thing is, just want to really touch on tax stuff just really quickly. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So if you're American, obviously you have to deal with worldwide taxation. If you're not American, then basically you can just move your tax residency elsewhere. So what a lot of Europeans and Canadians will do is that they might get residency in Paraguay, for example, which is a territorial tax system, which basically means you don't pay tax on any money that you make outside of Paraguay. So a lot of people will move their tax residency in Paraguay, get a residency in Paraguay, and then they'll just digital nomad around. And then if like their home country of Canada or Germany or the UK say, hey, where are you paying taxes? It's like, hey, I'm a resident here in Paraguay and I'm paying taxes here. So um, if you want to learn more about these kind of tax plays and these residency plays and these passport type plays, then I'm more than happy to help.
Totally. And I know I've made it clear this is a huge Joey Langenbrunner endorsement. But one thing, being an anarcho-capitalist, libertarian, or just someone who's always pursuing these different ways of freedom, this is an ever-changing world where, for example, what Joey's talking about with Paraguay, in 10 years, that could be different. And so the key is to stay plugged in with people like Joey, so that way you're ahead of the trend. Because there's always, new exciting things happening in this world, and then also scenarios where maybe what was said today you don't want to do if you're listening to this in 2020 or 2035. So yeah, Joey, thank you for taking time out of your day to come on here and just invest it with our listeners and fellow Liberlandians. What's the best way to follow up and get in touch with you again?
Yeah, I would say the best thing is probably just going to my website, joeylangenbrunner.com, or just hitting me up on Instagram, which is just Joey Youssef, which we can put the information down below. And those two places are probably the best way to get in contact with me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll get that all down below. And I guess as a reminder to our listeners as well, if you guys are interested in Liberland citizenship, the door is open. I always like to let people know it is $10,000 per citizenship. So as far as reaching out to me and trying to cut a deal, I'm just going to tell you now, it's probably not going to happen. But if you got 10 grand and you're ready to roll and become a citizen, just shoot an email to citizenship.adam@liberland.org, and we can take care of you there too. So Liberland citizenship, as Joey, thank you for the shout out at the beginning. I had to do my own little commercial there too. But as far as everything else around the world, you guys know who to go to. Hit up Joey in the information below. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Liberland Show.